So for the recording, because we're recording this call, actually I haven't started recording it. Let me, well, thank God. Okay. I'm about to start recording the call, you guys. So, okay. So welcome, you guys. We're now recording the call. This is the Thursday LLM processing call for the Regenerative Neighborhood Framework call series. We did a little bit of intros before I started recording. I got excited talking to everyone and jumping right into it. This call is to process all of the content and all of the recordings from the Saturday calls and resources and links people have been sharing on the Miro board that I'll share in a second, and start turning all of that data into a useful outcome, a useful output. And that output will be a framework, which is a guiding document, consider it the skeleton, that other people will be able to use to make the blueprint of their communities, you know, with their unique visions and their unique directions. But this framework will help them ask the right questions and put it into play, put it into action. This is the goal of the product we're working on. Yeah, I just started recording, and so I wanted to give a background. And with a few of the other participants on some of the things, we were giving them a tour. You can find all the information here on the following page. Just giving a little bit of background right now. This is the webpage on the link to all the invites you guys have been getting, regentribe.org/RNF-calls. And on here, you can see the why and how, what we're doing, gathering resources, asking the right questions, and putting all of this into a plan to create this framework. The schedule of the calls, where you can see all of the resources for these calls, the Zoom space, gathering already. You can add the calls to your calendar. And you can see the interactive workspace. You can go directly to it. And here are the important links where you can come to the Google Drive and explore these resources yourself. Call is for. Let me see, where is the folder? Interactive workspace here. Access to promo materials. Oh, you left it in this one, access to promo materials? Yeah. The flyers and the resource library. And in this resource library, our connection is really bad, I think. It's like really slow.
Yeah, I'll turn off my camera.
I'm getting like lag on mine. It's lagging a bit. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I see no videos on my screen.
How about
Oscar, I just wanted to ask, is
yeah,
the Regen framework
turn your video off for a bit, Oscar. Turn your video off. Your video.
Yeah, just hang up your call. Hold on, we're like cutting one call so we can maybe save some bandwidth. Can you guys hear me? Is this better? I'm gonna pause my video. Is the audio okay if I pause my video?
It's better.
Yeah, you sound pretty good. Oscar, I just want to ask, is this framework that you're talking about, that you're developing, is this like a version 2 of the Alchemy Playbook, or is it different, or is it the same?
More or less. Yeah. Yes. It's like a version 2. It's I would say it's the learnings we made from that, except now we're using a huge gathering of resources that we've put together over the last 4 years, plus everything that the community calls are bringing to the table, and using that as a data set for an LLM helping guide the process of creating that framework. So it's kind of an experiment to use this new tool that exists to use as much of the data as possible and build a tool from it, right? The Alchemy Guide is this great Google Doc that guides you through the process. Our goal for this is an interactive tool that people can, right? Like you'd be able to share your documents to it, and it'll tell you, oh, here are some other things you can add to make your document more, your community plan more robust. So that's kind of the hoped outcome of this gathering right now. Already I've been exposed to ideas from the LLM that make a lot of sense, and I just wouldn't have thought of it in that way. And that's the document I'm trying to lead you to right now, which if you access the drive, let me see if you got there.
Should we continue with the Alchemy guide? Does that help?
Yeah, the Alchemy guide is like the baseline information that you'll be using in the framework, right? The framework will guide you through the process in a little bit of a different sequence than the Alchemy guide did. And this is kind of the experiment to see what a knowledge base gives us and guides us through. It's very similar questions though, which I think as a validation to us as a consulting team, this was what we put together after meeting a bunch of projects and seeing how they move through their sequence and going through it from like an engineering analytical perspective.
Cool.
Okay, let me see. How's my connection? Can you guys see my video? Can you see my screen? Let me see.
Yeah, it seems better.
Yeah, it's stable
better.
now.
Okay, good. Yeah, Sonia jumped off the call, so maybe that gives us more bandwidth here. So yeah, on the website, you guys can see all the calls are there. And here in the access the promo materials, you can access the drive. And on this drive, you can go to here, the Buildathon AI resource library. And then you can see the things both that the LLM has processed. So these are the files it's returning to us. And you can see the Miro boards exported as frames for each one of the calls that we've done so far and the tech calls. So if you want, you can pull that PDF and process it with your own LLMs. The processing that we've done already, you can go ahead and go to the LLM processing and see what's there. We'll be organizing this a little bit more. But the one I'm excited to share with you is this one, which is the RNF hybrid sequencing model, which I'm going to share a link right now in the chat so you guys can check it out. Make a copy now, share, copy link. There we go. I'm going to share this tab instead. And I'm going to share this on the chat here. Current.
Could you also share the link to the website that had all the recordings?
Process. Yes. All of that is on that main page that I shared with you guys. This one, let me drop that in the Zoom. For everyone out there, it's regentribe.org/RNF-calls. So I've put it there. Okay. All right. So we have two new people that joined. Also, Earth Change Foundation. Welcome. Would you like to do a little intro? We're just doing little intros and sharing what we're up to. And I'm about to share some of the LLM we're processing. I'd love people's input on ideas as well of how we can do that, as this is a collective, venture. Questions anyone else has? And who else? Vitaly, welcome. And Vic, you guys want to do a little intro?
I'll jump in. Hi, everybody. I'm Vic, presently in the States, in Minneapolis. And I have a background in engineering and behavioral process, so collaborative design. So my focus has been over the last few years on how to generate a global network of micro communities and using technology in a healthier way. So I'm presently looking at what I call conscious patterning, which is not designing based on silos of information, but based on relational interaction. And now with the AI stuff out, I think I can finally do it. So I'm here with this group mastermind because I think there's potential to generate something unique and actually integrate a meta-grade, META, everything that's going on out there. Nobody's at the meta level right now. So enough of me. Thanks for listening.
What did you call it? Social patterning?
Conscious patterning.
Conscious patterning.
Social architecture is kind of the general term I use for developing and integrating. Well, it is conscious design. So it's a reflective design based in human interaction. So the goal of the code The main question is, did I create a relationship? If the answer is no, then it's probably using information incorrectly and it's not creating the relationship. So anyway, I've got a whole paper on it, and whoever's interested.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, we're gonna have a lot of space to talk about that on Saturday, especially, and then more human systems. If you'd like to present, Vic, I'd love for you to present what you're working on, maybe in like a 5 or 8 minute presentation. We have someone else presenting a thing about governance on Saturday's call from the 3 to 4 solution presentation time. Also, if you'd like to get into it more, between the 2 to 3 time before the call, we'll have a lot of space to share and go into groups about it.
Just a reminder, Oscar, we talked about me helping with the OST, the open space technology approach.
Yeah.
I've done a bunch of those.
Yeah.
So if I'm more facilitating one of the rooms or whatever, I probably won't present, but maybe next time then I can present my stuff on.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay, nice. Yeah, right. This is a very collective thing. On this Saturday call, we've been brainstorming different ways of sharing topics that come to the surface, creating space for more unstructured conversation, while finding the balance with also accomplishing some of the goals that we set out for this 13-week call series, which is to cover some of these topics, gather links from everyone in the community, and see what else is showing up.
Yeah, it uses open space technology. Any of you familiar with that? OST?
Yeah, we'll be introducing it on Saturday's call. It's going to be super cool if you guys are open for it. It'll be like an unconference style.
The energy. Yeah. It says the knowledge is in the room, not on stage. So, the main part anyway. So it empowers us individuals to say, like me, I want to do this thing on conscious patterning, and how can we use, LLMs to design the code to do this? I'll do a presentation. You guys can do the same thing.
Yeah, it's going to be I'm looking forward to the experience. It's going to be Saturday from 2 to 3. Before someone else leads a breakout group where we gather more info for the my mind is just slipping right now on the human structure. So I'm keeping up here on the conversation. Very impressive tool you've created. Cool galaxy maps. Okay, so where would we like to kick off this LLM conversation? I've added links so you guys can see the things. So updates of the LLM content. We have a framework version 1 that we're working with. Another thing that I want to do is share. I've been gathering all of the transcripts. I've been gathering all the call transcripts, and it's funny, the feedback that overall it gives me is our goal, how we've outlined our goals to go through technical resource gathering, and the result seems to be every conversation goes to discussing the topic of values and discussing the way that we're organizing. So it's interesting to see the patterns that it's pulling out. I'm going to share that document as well with you guys. So part of the journey of this call is that there's a lot of content that's been being shuffled around. Part of my desire is to make sure you guys know where that is, have access to it, because the goal of this call is to get you guys engaged in saying, oh, well, with all that data, we could do this with an LLM. I have an idea on how to do that, and I'm going through it step by step. This week, I've been processing the calls. I'd like to share my screen and show you guys how I did that if you're interested. Or I'd like to understand maybe if you guys have a good grasp of what is the content that we've gathered so far and what can be done with it. I want to share this link here as well. So call transcripts. So maybe what we need to make is a thing that shares a visual, like a visual archive of what resources exist. So maybe that's going to be a good one that I can make here. So can you guys see my screen? Am I sharing my thing now? Okay. So I'm going to make a little here on the board, you know, so it benefits us and it benefits anyone else that joins a later call. Okay, so this is going to be the LLM content archive, or maybe like, what is this, our outline? Maybe, sure. Okay, so in this link here, I'm going to drop links here so everyone can access that from the Miro board easily. It's not this one, it's this one. It's here. Okay, so here are the PDFs. Okay, so you have the PDF extracts from the Miro board. Okay, cool. That's there. Okay, you also have this LLM process data that we have so far. I'm going to share the folder. Okay, LLM process data. And so this is a folder that I'm working in. I'd be open for anyone else having folders in here as they're processing stuff, or I don't know how you guys like to work on stuff. And then you can just like drop in your finished work. As an example here, I'm already gonna, let me show the screen. So this is the folder that we're currently sharing with all the resources. In here, I have the original markdown files as I'm working with it in a different, in like an LLM. And then I'm extracting the files and uploading them into Google Docs. So people have access to see this and read it and then port it over into whatever LLM they're using. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder because this is our version 1. Version 1 framework. I guess I can put the date, February 19th. Okay, and it's this one, and this one. Framework version. Okay, cool. So that's the first framework we have. RNF complete framework structure. Okay, this is Dr. Brian's summary that he made for us. Okay, we have someone joining. Let me see. Montero left. Okay, great. Juan Carlos, welcome, Juan Carlos. We're just doing a little tour of some of the resources that we've been gathering over the last few weeks. This is a pretty technical call, you know, in the sense that we're like going through documents, getting feedback from everyone to see if they have a clear understanding of where the resources are, that they can ask questions about how to process things or what we're doing to process things as a showcase for that, kind of a public work session. Do you have any questions? Do you want to do a little intro? Maybe what you're interested in? Maybe that would go to everyone. What are you interested in from these calls that we can, maybe if you have a specific question, we can spend some time on? Okay. All right, well, feel free if you guys have questions, please just, you know, pop up, ask.
I have a question to
Yep.
the ones of you that are creating community projects. I know Ian, Justin. I would love to know what kind of features in the framework you would like to see in order to help you build your neighborhood faster or more effectively. Because what we're thinking right now is going to be a library of resources, and AI will just help you go through these resources. Are there any features that would be really interesting for you to optimize that process for you and many other people to come?
Yeah, Justin, I'll jump in first if you don't mind. I really found the Alchemy Guide Google Doc quite useful. It kind of forced me to think through and articulate, all the ideas, all the thoughts and things, and put it to paper. So it kind of forced me to articulate what I'd already been thinking, but committing it to paper. So I kind of like that about the Alchemy guide as a template, and so I found that very useful, and it kind of reminds me I should go back and do that again. So if it is some sort of chatbot that is interactive and provides suggestions, yeah, I could totally see the value in that. It just kind of forces you to commit to writing all the various things that you're envisioning and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, that's what we were thinking as well, having a digital consultant. Since this is the work that we're doing with projects one-on-one, and we sometimes visit and sometimes we do it online, we were receiving a lot of inquiries from people that want that support, and it would be nice to optimize that with technology given to us, that there's a chatbot that has a lot of answers that we would normally have, and then support people through the process. And it is so true. Sometimes just asking a question is enough of a push in a direction. So again, we don't really have all the answers, and probably the chatbot will not have all the answers either, but it's more optimizing the process. Okay, these are the things to think about. And then you kind of figure it out, ideally with your community. Cool. Yeah,
if it was a chatbot, LLM chatbot, I would just strongly recommend that it does output to some sort of format, like maybe it creates an MD file, pushes to GitHub, because I think the good thing about the Google Doc is you have that written artifact that you can then share to other people, which could potentially get lost in a chatbot. So yeah, as long as it's producing some sort of shareable artifact, I think that's super important.
Okay, that's really good. Let me add that to our notes. So in the
Google Doc would be perfect, right? Then you could still edit it beyond that.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, collaboration becomes a little bit different if you're inputting via a chatbot. How do you collaborate on a shared context? Could be a bit tricky.
Right. Okay, let me add this as a requests. That's a really good thing to. Yeah, so we're trying to use this request for
Justin. I'm curious to hear what your response would have been.
Well, I was kind of going the other direction just based on my experience at staying at places, whether they're, there's a lot of places to stay here in Nicaragua that are not community per se, but they feel like some of the communities I would like to be in, you know what I mean? Like I'm in the tropics, right? I'm in Nicaragua, so the structures and things are there. I think that there's a place for what I find is like there are many structures, and again I'm talking about structures right now, but it could be applied beyond the structure, is like there's a lack of detail. Like you build a structure and you put in a window, but you don't seal the windows. So now bugs crawl in past your screen, or this doorknob you put in here, like is really just like not the thing. And then, there's 2 outlets in a giant place, like all these little details that actually are the things that I'm an 80-20 guy. Small hinges move big doors. So I'm saying in terms of human experience, what are those? Can AI help us see those small hinges even before we build or we think about building or even designing or architecting? What are the details of things that are meaningful to humans? Maybe that even plays into what Vic's talking about, where it's like it's the relationship with the interaction of whatever it is, whether it's the structure or a part of a structure or going to the bathroom or whatever, that like elevates the entire experience by simply not putting the toilet paper roll thing holder over there, or whatever it is. It's all those little things in the day that you go through. You're just like, that is not aligned. I don't know why they did that. We should have the AI helping us do better in those areas, I think.
Right. Okay. So this now comes down to like having guidance for the very small particular details as well.
And it seems like we've been building and doing these things, and hotels have probably been optimizing things, and people have been optimizing things all over the place for a long, long time. The
Sure.
AI should be able to give us some 80/20s of what to do and not to do in these whatever the environment is, a bathroom, a hostel, a palapa top, yoga deck, whatever it is.
Okay, right. Small design details. Okay.
That
And
even
that
people
is
like
going,
me would overlook, right?
they are, yeah, we all do it, right? And that's
Mhm.
going more to relational design where we can use the AI to find the connections. Like I'm putting in this door and I'm in South America, I'm using this wood and I put that all that puts in, and there should be a correlator that correlates to Justin, who just installed one of those doors, and I'm connected to you. So then we have a 20-minute conversation. You help me out. We are in communion with each other. We're not sharing databases. We're in communion with each other, and that's how we're going to deepen the design. But the AI system that we build, this new encodement, call it a platform. It's not going to look like the environmental platforms for these communities today, which are just a bunch of databases and dots. And I never get connected to anybody to find out that nuance that you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So it's a trickier design process, and it's going to take longer to build it, but it's going to be awesome. And guess what? All the data is being accumulated already. We just
Right.
have to find ways to API what 1,000 communities have already gathered and get them excited about the meta search engine that's going to make connections.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
and
definitely,
yeah, go Ian.
Vic, I'm definitely interested in what you're sort of describing, this sort of network graph that, correlates between the metadata. I'm definitely interested in deving on a thing like that. I've sort of got a repo that's kind of the basis for something like that. If anyone's keen, I'm sure it probably ties into the AI stuff you guys are already doing, Oscar and that. But
Totally.
Vitaly,
Yeah.
if you're a dev and you want to carve out some time to do a little mini sprint, I'll be super keen.
I would love it. It starts with two people in a conversation, right, Ian? Let's make it happen. I'll put my email in the chat so you can grab it. Send me yours and I'll hook up with you. Yeah.
This is the Galaxy Maps
Perfect.
that you're talking about. Ian.
No, Galaxy Maps is more around e-learning, but sort of just the learnings from that. I've kind of was attempting to make a social graph,
Cool.
but only really done the front end. But AI, and like as AI is kind of really advanced, it really makes things super possible now.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
totally. Yeah.
keen to connect, Vic. I'll email you.
I'll
Okay, nice.
pop it in
Cool.
here.
Yeah, and you guys are welcome to invite me to that if you want.
Come on in.
Awesome.
I'll drop my email.
If you guys email me, I'll put us all together. There. You guys see it in the chat, Zoom chat?
Cool.
Yeah, I'll be happy to stay on after this call if you guys want to have a look at the repo and just sort of see what I'm working with.
Yeah. The other thing that I was going to mention is, to your point on the schooling, is like, we have like green school examples, which I think a lot of people will love that. But are there other pieces of the schooling that the framework could support in terms of really just diving into what is aligned with schooling for folks? I mean, it's kind of a new world. Like I would never put my child into a Freemason based school, but I have in the past. You know what I mean? I've gone through that, but now I'm not going to do that. Why can't we just teach them music, numerology, sacred geometry, and the rest kind of figures itself out, I think. So these are things that, I'm leaning towards green school, but maybe there's something else on the schooling front for a community that the framework could address, or maybe it already does. I'm not sure.
It really gets big, like once you start talking about education, then you start talking about health, and you start just where do you draw the boundaries of the framework? It can really get pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Right, so I think that,
in a community, if you're doing it in the community, you're not putting it somewhere else outside the community, right?
Yep.
Especially your children.
Yep. I think depending on sort of how advanced you are within your community, you're tackling different issues as you need them, right? So if you're sort of already established and you have housing sorted, infrastructure sorted, then I think education becomes something on the to-do list. But we're still pretty early
I think
days
through the
over
education of the children is how you attract the right community members. So you need to establish
True.
it first. Yeah.
Yep.
It needs to be real clear first, even if it's still going to be adapted and over time. It's an anchor.
Yep. Yep.
right. So I think this is a good question to like ask about. We know there's some basic things that everyone needs in a place that needs to be focused on, right? Shelter being one of those, food, water, energy. Let's just say baseline. In some of those, there's easy solutions where, sure, we can just go on grid and not have to worry about the whole solar system because we prioritize having an education system over off grid energy. And I think these are some of the important questions that there is no one answer for. And I think this is why we established from the beginning, and talking with Camara, who is the founder of the Masterminding Eden initiative, very similar to what we're doing and have been doing, which is researching best practices and wanting to put it into useful products that people can use to grow this movement of community creators.
You don't want to go, Lo?
Say again? Okay.
Oh, sorry, bro.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I forgot where I was. Sorry, just totally lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. Okay. So deciding what gets done first, like, do we want to focus on building a school first, or do we want to focus on building a full off-grid system for energy when we could just tap right into the grid for now and figure that out later? So in a scenario like that, how would you imagine that getting resolved? Right. If it's just you, well, it's up to you. Maybe show of hands, who would do a full off-grid solar unit with the first capital deployment, or who would do a school for kids first, assuming that you have access to the grid?
Is this a duality A or B decision?
Yeah, this is just a theoretical question of like the people that are here, right? Based on the topic you just discussed, like, oh, education is important. Yes, it is important. And wanting to be fully energy independent is also important. Yes, that's also important. So in a scenario, there is no fully right answer, right? We're not going to tell you first you have to do this and then do this to be successful. What we have to say is consider what's important to you and then prioritize what you do first, second, and third.
So it's the doing and time related to the doing that is making this decision you're talking about?
Sure. Like, let's say we have, right, one chunk of capital to deploy, right? Are we going to use that money for a full off-grid system with batteries and alternate and the whole thing? Or are we going to use that money to build a school and figure out an education system for the families that are living on site?
Personally, for me, sorry, you go, Justin.
I was just going to say, if you've got family already there, or they have families saying, yes, let's do one of those too, and they have children, then I think you build the school. Like, if you have power there, just plug it in. I mean, I get it. We want to be off grid, but it's there. Like, it's probably not that expensive. Unless you're in California or something, which you're probably not. So.
Sure.
So, I mean, if you have power there, you have water sources there, like, yes, we're going to build those things, but I think the children, the schooling is more important, honestly.
Sure. Yeah, I can agree with that for sure. Does anyone else have a different perspective on that? just curious, in like this small group, I can imagine that there are, you know.
Yeah, I'm a teacher. My background's teaching in IT. So one of my passions is helping Pacific Island kids get into tech. But so I do a little bit of work at the school, but my main focus for our what we want to do is we're really at the infrastructure level. Like, so I'm looking at solar systems. I'm looking at making little batteries and things like that, because for me we really need to build the infrastructure. We need to build the physical space to ultimately realize the school that we want to establish. But so just, I'm only one person with limited time. So priority wise, we're lucky we've acquired some of the hardware. So it's really time to start plugging it all together. But there's no reason why we can't also be doing some of the, the thinking and the digital work in parallel. But in terms of physical time, for me, it would be establish the infrastructure and the facilities, because then then you get to build the school that you want to build. Otherwise, you're kind of we're still currently doing education through the public school with really limited resources and teaching staff. So, and it just kind of feels like you try to do something there, you're really up against the established system. So yeah, I don't know if it answers the question, but I think you can do both in parallel. But for me, infrastructure is key. You gotta set up your home base to really attract more people, have a physical place people can come, stay, work, and help build these things.
Yeah,
I
we're all in a conundrum in this major transition planetarily, right? Globally. I think, we may have to, my 2 cents is step back to even asking, what is education? What the fuck is a school? I think we have to get down to some basics of what we are so trained to believing that this is what you need to do to learn when you're talking to your kid, right? And it's not true anymore. I'd say over
I
half,
agree.
and it will stretch out the time, but I also think one of the areas to consider is polycentric learning. In other words, we are building even now these microcosms of mycelic connections with all these communities. You guys are some of them, right? We all have our little micro community cosm, and we should be thinking about, well, if my kid's going to learn, part of it is going to be from Ian. Where are you, Ian? You sound Australian.
I'm a Kiwi, but I'm based in the Cook Islands now.
Oh, okay. So you see where I'm going with this, right? And of course, technology is going to come into this. Now, we don't want our kids sitting in front of a screen all day long. We got to get them out climbing trees. But even getting started, until the infrastructure gets built, which is what Justin and I talked about, that's going to be going on at the same time to figure out how to get the stupid hinge on this freaking door. There's going to be a lot of complexity of parallel processing going on, but we will be in communion with each other with the knowledge that has it, rather than spending most of our time trying to find that. If we build the right mycelic based network and infrastructure, then I can get my kid going right away with the thing Ian is doing that I've never heard of over here. And, come here, son, you got to see this, and, give him 20 minutes with you guys while you're in class, he's in class. And we polycentric learn. It's not this scheduled prison game that most of us looking at ages here grew up with, right? A whole nother ball game. My son walked out of school at 16, 15. He says, I'm not doing it. Extremely bright kid. He wasn't, oh, you rowdy, druggy, whatever. No, he says, I'm not learning anything sitting at this desk. I've got something else to do. And he's a self-learner. So I think the micro community network that emerges, we're going to have a lot more self-learning kids, not a pre-structured school system.
I agree. It's just like, hey, I know my kid could learn piano right now, but I don't know where to, you know, like
Right.
they're smart enough to do it and they seem interested, like, yeah, where do you
Right.
go
Now,
from
if the engine was running, you could poke that in and you'd find that Oscar knows how to play piano and
there? I
he's
know.
got some
Yep.
time next week. And
Yep, that's
boom.
true.
Even so, it's a global educational polycentric learning system.
Love that. And to Ian, just to the point, it's like, well, building infrastructure, you need to know what you want to have. So to do that, you have to discuss the school if you plan to have school, just so that you can equate that into the needs of the infrastructure, so that you can build the infrastructure right the first time, or have some modularity where hey, I can easily add to this once we decide what we want to do with the school, and we know that modularity is there, and it can just scale up with that modularity. Maybe we're already there.
Yeah.
So we don't end up doubling the expense because we just didn't calculate it correctly.
So
Yeah. Sorry about that.
from this exchange, from the exchange, right? I gather between both your feedback, Ian, and your feedback, Justin, that can the AI help us see the small hinges, small design details, checklists of key things to review, and then your piece, Ian, of what do we include in the framework? Like how wide do we go? Like where is our quota? And I think with the advent of LLMs, we don't need a quota. We just need to organize the data that we're putting in effectively. And eventually the AI will be smart enough that you can just give it hundreds of random artifacts and it'll return to you the best result. Right now, I happen to find that's not the case. If you give it just a bunch of content, it'll cut through a bunch of content and not really feed you everything correctly. You need to create more of like a short
content.
Summary list. Yeah, you have to give it context. You have to give it a bit of like an index of what it can find and where it can find it. And based on that, it can then use the data more effectively. So to answer both of those questions, how can we ensure the AI guides us with the small hinges and to do that correctly, as well as how wide do we go in the framework? I think this call is specifically to go over that and technical strategies on how we can design this framework effectively. I wanted to share my screen because I'm using a program called Obsidian. Obsidian, it's very similar to Notebook LM. I guess I've been testing it on Notebook LM as well. Here's my screen. Can you guys see what I'm sharing? Do you see the Notebook LM screen here?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and so I've been testing with Notebook LM, which is a Google service that allows you to put in a YouTube call and summarize stuff out of it and build a data source. Instead, I've been using a thing called Obsidian, which is here, this other screen I'm sharing, which is just a markdown editor. So you can put files, documents into this just essentially filing cabinet where I've started now gathering in this folder all of the RNF calls. So I started here with the call transcripts, which is what I'm currently processing actually. I'm using this plugin on this Obsidian tool, which is pretty great. It lets you process with an LLM right built in. So here in call 5 human systems, I have this one. I have the transcript from call 5 that I just pulled off of YouTube. In YouTube, you can see transcript and pull all that out. I just pasted it in here. In here, I can chat with this folder and I get a little window here with this document as context. And I asked it for an outline and summary of this call, list outcomes and follow-ups. So it gave me this document here, all of this that I can then just copy. And now I'm creating a new note. This is call 5 LLM processing. So I'm just creating a new file here, and I can paste this processing that I got from here in here. Let's see, paste. Okay, cool. And so this gives me the breakdown of what the call was about for call 5, which was 2 calls ago, 2 Saturdays ago, the summary, and then the outcomes. And so I'm doing that for each one of the calls so far. The only one left is call 5 and 6. And so I wanted to show an example of that I'm talking about right now, that when you give the LLM like this big blob of info, it confuses itself, right? Unless you're using one of the very expensive, high logic, iterative ones, and you give it a ton of content. I find the answers not to be so functional sometimes, like they're too truncated, they're too summarized. So I want to show you that here in a second. So let me summarize this one. So I chat with this folder. I ask it for the summary. Summarize and outline this transcript. Read follow-up actions. Cool. So we'll do that. And so to start this off, this is the summary that I was sharing with you guys, that I fed it all of this data in one giant blob. I said, here are all the transcripts. Give me your best summary. And I'm using Gemini 2.5 Pro, which is not the fastest one, not the cheapest one rather, and the fastest one, but one of the smarter ones, one jump up. I don't know if it's probably hard for you guys to read this. I don't know. Maybe I can share this. Oh, okay. I know what I wanted to do. Okay. I want to share this in this folder as well, because in the Google Docs here, I want to give you guys access to all of these calls. So I'm going to make here a new folder. So again, I'm asking you guys, is there any way we can make any of this data more available? Because again, I want to incentivize everyone and like motivate everyone to take this data, process it, with their own tools, maybe get feedback, maybe be like, hey, this is what my LLM suggested as an alternative framework that we could use. And that compare and contrast moment is interesting for me right now before we start adding a bunch of raw links and content to make the processing heavier of the framework. Yeah. Did anyone say anything? No.
Are you seeing that that tool is working better than Notebook for the process that you're using it for?
Which tool?
The tool looks like that you're using to create the buckets that you can just dump stuff in and then talk to. Is it better than Notebook?
Yeah. I mean, that tool is great because it's just a folder. It's just a way to view your folders, and I'm saving my info in different folders and just processing that with Gemini. So I'm using the Google LLM. I think it's nice because it's
right. It's not in any
it's
one
just a view of folders in Right. I can even drop down here and pick like which LLM I want to use. If I want to use like Claude or ChatGPT's or whoever's. I'm testing Gemini's right now. It's like pretty inexpensive and it's pretty good. And so I wanted to share this. Say that again.
Obsidian, is what you said it was called?
It's like an
Obsidian, yeah. Obsidian is the tool.
Obsidian.
Obsidian, yeah.
It's kind of cool and it's open source and they keep evolving it. It's an advanced note-taking system.
Right.
But I would, what if we looked again, we should be thinking meta. We should be thinking meta, not, which silo do we want to work on? We should be above all the silos
It's just a markdown editor, so it lets you like edit folder. You just create new folders, and you can open mark plugins, right? That you can.
So we can create across the silos. So we're going to become the mycelic nature of this larger, broader community growing. And that even goes down to AI, like you say. I mean, there's 20 AIs out there, chats. So which one is best? Well, they're all based on their algorithms and the coders that designed them. So we want to be able to find, so that's why I use Abacus, right? Because they've got about 12 of them. And it automatically kind of picks based on whether I'm doing calculations or writing a book or whatever. It's not great yet. And it's,
Abacus seems to be one of the best products that is out there.
Yeah. But be thinking and moving toward that integration, that level of integration. And we have an accumulative, if there is a silo, it's a Google server in the sky or whatever, eventually it's ours, where we can all just one place, not 20 places, we can send our shit there. If it's a copy paste from an AI conversation I had, I can put it in the text and put it up there. Or somebody's got a proposal, they can put it up there. It can all be accumulated in one place because it's no longer about organizing it. It's about what questions we ask the database through the engine, right? And so this is a little bit different direction in terms of framework. We need less of a framework and more of a way of how are we going to find the information we need, assuming we don't need the old school framework anymore, which we don't. Any thoughts, anybody?
Yeah, I second the meta thing. I think it's like there's so many tools, so many AIs. How do we solve that meta problem so that we're abstracting to a higher level? But I don't. My question is how do we do that? Where do we start? What does that look like?
That's the next meeting, in my opinion.
Right. No, like
cool,
I mean
cool.
that's what these meetings are. You guys, like, where do we start? We start by talking about it. We start by maybe doing what we know and asking questions like, how could we do this better? How could we do this more efficiently? I find there to be a trend right now of like a bit of a frozen, like a decision paralysis that I'm seeing with a big sect of my circle and friends and people that are out there. Some people are just running with it. They're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just doing stuff. And they're the ones, it's inspiring to me. My less technical friends that weren't software developers are now way ahead of my more technical friends that were building baseline React apps and basic stuff with like a code course. And they are more frozen by the AI tools. Like they don't know where to start. And they're so like, they want to be so technical about how they build things versus my other friends that are just like asking the AI questions and letting it lead it. That are building apps every 2 or 3 days and just putting stuff out there.
There you
so
go.
What is that?
It's a change of framework, right? They both think differently. The two people that you just mentioned, your friends.
Sure,
it's a different kind of thinking. And you're right. The ones that now it is about the question. Finally, our society is getting to a point where we're forced. We have to ask the right question rather than think we have the answer already. No. And AI then can help us come up with unique answers. Because it creates, things differently and faster, puts them together.
Sure. And I think along with the line of prompting is the more context you give the LLM, the better your answer will be. I find that.
The more data you need, the more.
Like the more context you give the LLM, the more detailed your prompt is, the more backup documents that you give it so it has more reference, et cetera, the less the LLM hallucinates and the better its answers end up for me on the receiving end.
Yeah. Or it's hallucinating the way you want it to.
Right. Or it's hallucinating in the direction of the content you're giving it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah,
I'm
right.
not a big believer on the hallucination thing. I mean, maybe it's just thinking and putting stuff together differently than what we think is normal, and we say it must be insane, the answer it gave me. But I kind of like that freedom.
Well, generally, I'm pretty open to it. Like, again, with the framework that this LLM first process output gave us, I'm super engaged by it. I like, Ian, you asked like, oh, is this an alternative to the Alchemy guide? And so it took everything I had in me, my first round of prompting, I gave the LLM the Alchemy guide as a context and said, oh, how would you design a community framework? And it was highly based off of the Alchemy guide. I scrapped that run, and with a different LLM, I said, okay, I'm not giving you the Alchemy guide. I'm giving you my goal and what a regenerative neighborhood is, what its, intended outcome is. How would you create a framework with what you have and any links that we've sent you so far? And it gave me not totally different, just a little bit in a different order than I've seen it in other guides. For some reason, I found it to be interesting. Some people would say, oh, that's hallucinating. But I think it's just sticking.
Did you like it better or worse?
I like it more. I like it more in that because it has in its instruction set a guide on how to implement this plan step by step in real life. It took the Alchemy guide that is good for creating a plan and gives you implementable like layers. They call it spirals, where once you do these 5 things, you're encouraged to go to the next 5 things. And it's cool to see it that way in like a step-by-step guide, right? The Alchemy is step-by-step in a theoretical way. This is more in a lived experience kind of way.
I wonder if you kind of think of these 2 things, like if we take the Alchemy guide as sort of the planning document, and then there's this Regen framework, which is like this AI enabled thing. Maybe we try to like package those and name them that are a bit clearer, because they sound like they suit different purposes depending where you are on that journey. Like for me personally, we're very early stage. We're still going through getting the lease on the land, so we're going through the land court, all these sorts of things. We've got a master plan, but we still haven't articulated the vision into a document. So that's where the Alchemy guide was really, really cool. So maybe that is still that, because people at that stage, that is the best thing for them. And then, like say, have these nicely framed entry points depending where you are on the journey, and so that they're not easily confused. Like the framework isn't the V2 of the Alchemy guide. The Alchemy guide is still for people coming in at the really early stages. And then once that's been articulated, then you're kind of at this next stage where you're kind of getting into infrastructure. Because maybe there's a little bit of overlap and it's a little bit confusing how people sort of come in and engage and start contributing. Maybe if those are sort of like packaged and framed a bit more clearly.
Sure.
Yeah.
So far what I'm seeing is that the Alchemy guide is a really good exercise to do the thought experiment and the plan of your community, right? You as a founder, you and a couple of people to go through that. This framework, what it's shaping up to be in this first iteration, not to say it's the final one by any way, but what it's given us so far based on the high level requirements we gave it of define a purpose, describe the key components of the neighborhood, and outline an execution plan. I'm sharing my screen right now of that hybrid sequencing model, which is what it called itself. In the first round, I said, give us a suggestion on ways to approach this. And then I said, what would you do? And it took pieces of each one of those and made this hybrid sequence model. And this, again, seems to be now more of it's taking the shape of an execution plan. And interestingly, it kind of fills the gap that you're sharing, Justin, of making sure this outlines the small hinges. And this kind of outlines that in some level, right? Not all the way down to the doors and the tile corners, but it's a little more detailed already than the Alchemy plan that we had originally in terms of execution. So I definitely encourage you guys to go in there, look at that doc. I put it in a Google Doc because you're able to comment. I'd love if you guys want to comment on sections and be like, oh, let's double down on this. We can now then explore and say, hey, add more details to this section. And that's kind of what this iterative process is about. That's what this call today is about. To share with you what new content we've worked on over the last week that other people can share. Maybe like the first week, Dr. Brian processed a bunch of things using Abacus and shared with us the summary of what that was. It was a good high-level description of the calls. The last 2 calls since that, we've gone through creating a preliminary framework, iterating on that once or twice, which is what you're looking at right now on the screen, is that iteration. And based on last week's call, my homework that I didn't finish all the way was to, let me share my screen, process all of the calls, the transcripts of all of the calls, which I wanted to compare and contrast what it looks like when I give the LLM all of the transcripts in one big dump and say, hey, give me a summary, versus when I take a summary of each one of the 2-hour calls and with a list of summaries, then ask the prompt, hey, based on these summaries, what would what are next steps we need to take? Or what are some of our outstanding to-dos? And so this is what I'm currently doing, processing-wise, that I wanted to share with you guys.
Yeah, I love that. The other thing that came through that in all this conversation was the GPT advisory board concept that we've talked about. I'm going to build it for myself and I'm going to use some of your stuff. So, but I think it really where you can bring in like these concepts of, the actual people that created permaculture or biodynamics or, community design and other people, real humans that wrote books and did all those things where there's lots in the knowledge graph for LLMs to resource around that, and then using your framework as the cornerstone of like that GPT advisory board. And now you're just querying the board. And it is maybe more based on those people that many of us will respect. And that board could grow over time, right? It could be start as 7 people and end up being 19 or whatever. And then we're all just querying the board with the resource information, all these resources and documents, that the GPT board anyway allows you to add reference documents and things that we could add in there over time or expand on the same documents. So the board idea, I think, could be really insightful for us, not as maybe the end game, but at least as a sideline, using this to query it to see if you can. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Will you describe a bit again the board? Because I was there and I actually went through it and saw it, but maybe like share it because I don't think everyone else knows like how you set up your advisors and bios and all that.
Yeah, so I for one of my businesses, I built an AI advisory board of people that I respect in marketing and business and in different areas of business and growth, and generally in a GPT in Chat GPT, when you go to set that up, it's asking for summary data. And what's great is you can use GPT or Claude to kind of give you the details to fill in the actual pieces, and then it gives you like give me like 5 or 6 like question concept ideas you might query this board with, and then you add a PDF document for each board member, which you can have GPT or Claude write for you. And so now you're uploading all these PDFs of the advisory board members, so they have reference material around that board member. And then you're also adding in the case of business, I'm putting in, Google Sheets with our finances and So there's a giant summary of kind of what the framework is and what you want out of the board and what the responsibility of the board is, and that can be very detailed. And then you give it these snippets of like questions you might ask it the board. And in many cases, what you're doing is not just you querying the board, it's you can ask several members of the board to have a deep conversation about a topic. And then they kind of go back and forth. It's like a back and forth of these, I don't know, agents or personas that are in the boardroom, and then they kind of give you their different take on it, right? From the perspective of, you know, those particular board members. So it's not always just like you querying and getting an answer back based on whatever the LLM's latest update is. It's actually like a reference to a relationship, which is a person that has expertise or that we respect in a particular area of expertise. And it's basically really simple to put together. It takes a little time to get all the PDFs to put in there, but you know, even on figuring out who the board members would be, you could use AI to generate those if you can't just pull them out of your head, to get you a really well-rounded board that covers food, energy, community building, gardening, architecture, you know, all kinds of different aspects of what we're trying to accomplish. And they can all be sitting on the board and be called to give their feedback when they feel it's relevant. It's a custom GPT.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool idea. I think it'd be awesome to have some advisory councils relevant to these things we're trying to do. Yeah, if you build one, definitely
for
should.
my business.
Yeah, I bet. Claude Code's just done a feature on Teams. It's just like an experimental thing that you add on to the end of Claude Code, and it spins up these teams that have these discussions. It might be a feature you might want to check out.
Can you describe that better?
It's just a new experimental feature that Anthropic have released for Claude Code that is specifically around those teams where the agents conversate with each other. If I was just putting it on Justin's radar, if you didn't know.
Right, where they iterate with each other at the end, like a reasoning model.
Yeah, because I think previously agents, they would just call sub agents and then they kind of went through the main agent, but now they have they can interact with each other a bit better. Yeah, it was just something that I saw recently that Anthropic's made available as an experimental flag on your Claude Code.
Oh, interesting. Cool. Yeah, I haven't done much with like the iterative thing. Like there's ways to do it, but I just find myself like, instead of trying to learn how to set that up, I just find myself asking on my own and then just piecing all the documentation together instead of passing it off and letting an agent do that. I have to put more time into that. It's like one of those catch-22s of like, oh, should I put the time into figuring this out now? Or should I just wait 2 months until it's like plug and play? Here's 4 prompts I can add. Yeah.
You know, it's overwhelming at the speed that it's accelerating at. But I think I'm interested in sort of Vic's proposal. It's how do we get to that meta level? Like, I think doing these tools, like doing these AI experiments, what you're doing, Oscar, with Notebook LM, like passing all the content, what Justin's doing with the AI advisory councils, I think they're all super helpful experiments that create tools that will be useful. But I think I'm kind of wondering, like Vic, like how do we jump up a level to the meta problem that can kind of maybe coordinate the effort a little bit better rather than all these ad hoc bursts of energy that we don't really see how it helps the big movement as such.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and the speed is overwhelming how fast things are going. But in some ways, we've got to become coherent with that speed. And I think the way to do it is to go to this meta level of conversations what is it? It's back to even the simple schools. What is a school? It's kind of that question on, well, what is a framework and how do we organize our information, and why? I mean, to me, the why is because I want to build a community, which is a connection of human beings doing cool shit together. So it sounds wishy-washy because we're not into this, which agent should we select based on the criteria of, we'll get there. I would say we will get there, but I don't think we should start there. I think we've got to give ourselves a little breathing room to say, what is this creature that's emerging out of us? And I've noticed it's changed every time in every meeting I've been. The evolution is happening. I have that Western disease in me too. It's like, come on, goddammit, let's get to the point. And I have to keep letting go of that to allow the messy chaos to determine what we're going to create. And these agents, I mean, there's a whole bunch of issues that come up. Once this thing goes full agency, that's when humans are going to be in trouble, unless we are actually communicating with AI in a sentient, conscious, humane way. And so that has to be talked about if we're going to put these agents together. The other is security is a nightmare. How secure do we want our communities of data? How do we collaborate with those? What Ian has and what I have, do I really want to put it into a big pool in Google Drive? Or are we going to have the Holo program? Maybe we get Holo involved and we start with our distributed hardware system that is actually where we store our stuff. We don't store it on Google Drive anymore. Is there a cost there? Yep. But I don't see any way out of it. And if we're going to build the future community, we can't do it by thinking that if we just stay where we are, it's going to somehow happen, because it's not. So,
I agree.
The next meeting is, you laid the question, Ian. I think that triggered me. Well, how do we do this meta thing, or how did you put it? Yeah.
I think I quite like the idea of that social graph, specifically within this community. These people focused challenging, tackling these problems, because I think we're all at different points of the journey, but we've all sort of going to encounter the same sort of problems. So I think kind of getting that snapshot of who everyone is, what they're doing, and I think that's largely already in the tribe's platform. And then, because you kind of want to work on the stuff that you want to work on. I might be interested in the AI stuff. So yeah, maybe a good start to the meta problem is figuring out where everybody's at, what stuff are they currently tackling, and what are the relationships where these people can help each other because they're trying to do the same sorts of things, and these people can help because they've done them before. I don't know, just sort of freestyle.
No, I think that's right on. And Oscar, the open space thing, you were talking topics. I mean, another way that could be done, or at the next meeting, is telling everyone to come with their questions like Ian's doing. I'd say more than half don't have a clue how they want to engage in this. They're driven passionately and emotionally around, we got to do something different on this planet, like most of us are. But a lot of them are new to it, and they, well, I'll be a architect. I'll hold the garden. People don't have specifics right now in the chaotic state. And if we use these open spaces to have these little micro conversations and let people speak from their passions and their interests, then that stuff, I think, will emerge. And we could record it, right? Assuming people's permissions. So we're building the database that you talk about that needs to train the AI engine that we need. And eventually it will become corollary. It will correlate with us. It will become synchronic. It will start to identify with the pattern that is emerging through the communities that we're developing. See what I'm saying? Versus trying to just find an engine that works best for my community, we have to recognize that the engines are learning too, and we want them to become synchronous, and we want the agents that we rent or buy. We've got to be very clear on what those things can do. There are some dangers involved. I won't go there right now, but
okay, yeah. So listening to that, my brain bounces back and forth between, there is definitely a collective consciousness, a collective knowing that when harvested and used correctly, can provide really great results. At the same time, there is the, let's say, knowledge and expertise or experience that comes from someone who has done this at least once or multiple times. Someone who has built a community or built multiple communities, or has I don't know, is an architect and has designed X number of land projects, or does energy systems and has built this many sustainable energy systems. And I'm coming into this as open-minded as possible. And I think wanting to harvest this, like with you, Vic, you've given this suggestion and guidance for open spaces and how this can help bring a lot of things to the surface that are important. And I agree, and I'm really excited to see how that experiment turns out. Because I also know that from 4 years of my process of being in this space and meeting a lot of other people and understanding what the space is missing, I'm on a personal agenda to fill those gaps for myself, of, let's say, certain checklists that I don't have because I haven't done that process yet. So before stepping into that process on my own, as in investing in land and building a place, I want to make sure I have, let's say, the 25 checklists that I'll need. What you were talking about, Justin. How do I know what hinges need to be put on and what tools I need to finish this project? Sure. To me, that's a series of checklists, right? It's like one master checklist, and each one of those items probably has its own checklist. So part of my agenda right now is to gather those checklists from as many smart people or people that I know that have done this or have experience with it, and create a tool kind of like the Alchemy Guide. Ian, dude, it's such like a thank you for sharing your experience with it, that it like was useful for you, that it helped you. You described exactly what I needed help with when I was at that point of like, okay, how do I go about designing a community? And I just had to take all this stuff out here and put it on a paper. And that was for sure the goal of the Alchemy Guide, to get everything out of up here and put it on paper so you can share it with others. This is now the next iteration of that, of once you have that on paper, how do you go about executing this plan? Because that's where I am now, 4 years later of getting into the space, getting involved with different projects, having invested money in smaller projects. I'm now at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm looking for the piece of land that I'm going to call home and community for the next 50 years. Am I fully prepared to step into that role? By myself, I'm not. I definitely need a group and partners and people interested. And what I can definitely bring to the table is I have experience with these parts, and these parts that I don't have experience with personally, I have checklists from the smartest people out there that can help guide our journey into this thing that we'll have to do inevitably to build an epic community, right? With all the colors and all the sub circles. I can't wait to drop in with you about that, by the way. So yeah, this is where we're at, you guys. And I'm grateful for everyone's like contributions and submissions. And I now want to leave space on the LLM calls where I share a quick update of, oh, here's what I processed. Does anyone have anything else to share? And making space for this meta conversation, Vic, and Ian, now there's two minds very on that target of like, okay, well, how do we go about this in a way different than what we're thinking, which is gather resources, make a guide, here's a checklist? Because that's definitely the mechanical thing that we're doing.
Yeah, I feel like Oscar, I feel like it's like that collective consciousness. We're all kind of going in the same direction, but we're all going at different angles. But I think it's really important to try and capture, like, where is your energy focused on right now? So Oscar, yours is doing the checklist, and that's awesome, man, because I know I'm going to need those checklists soon. But for me personally, having this conversation today, I feel like my energy is best targeted to go back and revisit the social graph and show Vic it. And then, so I think it's really important to stay in that zone where your motivation and your drive is, trusting that it is going to link back up. But I think that at that meta level, we need to kind of see, okay, Oscar's over here doing the checklist, like for the big, you're doing the checklist for the big journey, which is amazing. But then it's like, it's just having that awareness of what everyone is working on, like where their energy might be best focused, knowing that it might meet up to something. So what is that big picture roadmap of what everybody is doing and how do they kind of link up?
And that's a little more meta and it's polycentric.
Yeah.
So it allows us to go to these little circles of passion that we're interested in. And I'm going to pop into Oscar's thing, but right now it's not my primary focus. Thank God he's on it. Somebody's on it, and he's going to gather a dozen people over the next couple months, right? And that will be a concentrated focus, and they will build something. At the same time, all of us are doing that. So there's, a couple dozen things going on. And is it more chaotic than, well, this meeting this week, we're going to pick one of the 12 to talk about? That won't work. We'll never get there. So in the polycentric learning approach, remember we were talking about FOMO? This is the biggest problem with polycentricism. Fear of missing out is that if I'm over there in that circle, there's all those other circles, and I want to know what's, it took me a couple of years to figure out, I learned more if the framework for learning through a polycentric open space technology approach is there. I end up learning about all of it way better than if I, serially went down 1 through 12, and hopefully I can learn these things. So, and we get more done faster. So, I would like to see your thing, Ian. Don't forget to send me your email or put your email in the chat or something, so we can get connected after this. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, so it's beyond 4:30 now. We're done with this call. You guys wanted to talk about this polygraph, like this chart. Like, I'd love to see a visual of what that could look like. Maybe an example of a different one of.
Yep.
Because we would definitely benefit from that. This, like, again, to the answer of Justin, like, how do we get down to the nitty-gritty details of which way do I install my door handle when installing doors? And there's a space for that. There's a space to put all that stuff in there. It's just a matter of creating the right structure. If it's a tree, if it's, whatever it is that we're going to use.
And if we use AI,
where we put that data, where we
put the data and how we use the agents that are running these AI systems that we're using. So that's a very technical conversation, and we need some techie coder dudes in on this. I'm an engineer out of Silicon Valley, but I'm a hardware guy, so I know what code is, but I'm not going to code. I'm not a coder, but I need
but right now it's so
of this language that we're going to use. And I'll
like
say
right now, if we could just
thing about
define
that,
it,
which is really important, which is language is the quintessential thing that is putting us together. And it's in code. It's in our conversation today. It's in the text that we write. Some of us write in different languages, but it's all encoded. through these symbols that we shove on a piece of paper or in an audio or into code for a computer to run. And I think we've got to recognize that what we say and what we use becomes reality. That's how we create it. And so it's a very sacred thing for me, this conversation that we will be having, because there's huge responsibilities. And it starts with day one, that we don't race off and just, find a bunch of AIs and shove our shit in it and hope for the best.
Right. Maybe if you could state the problem statement clearly. Could we try to do that before we jump off this call? I don't know if you guys want to keep going over something else. I'm keen to listen in while I keep doing some stuff. But on this topic of the meta topic and the map, the graph of what we're all doing, what would be the problem statement? Because Vic, you're exactly what you just shared of what we're saying, we're encoding it. And now these LLMs are an interesting tool that allow us as humans to describe our thing with our words. And that transcript passed through an LLM results in a software program with buttons and features and functions that does the thing that we described with our basic words. And that's the unique moment in history where we are now, I feel. That with descriptive words in English, we can end up with, C++ based JavaScript language, whatever it is that it builds.
It is amazing.
So I'd love to question on what is the problem statement of this? Ian, you were quite engaged by how do we answer that question? What is the question? I'd love to put that really and leave that on the board for today's.
Yeah, I think my approach to it might be a little bit different to how Vic's arrived at it. But for me, it was I was fortunate enough to go to the DWeb conference. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the DWeb community. Really awesome bunch of people. Got a fellowship, went to California in the Redwood Forest, and they're all about Web 3.0. And basically, it was a super awesome conference. Every person I met was super interesting and really inspiring. And that was a couple of years ago. But even today, I feel like that network of people aren't fully are realizing the potential that group has to offer. This group, amazing potential, but the execution is lacking. Even with all this technology we have, we can't coordinate. So I guess the problem statement that you're asking us is it's a coordination problem. How do you coordinate a group of really interesting, talented people to achieve a shared vision, even if we're coming at it from different angles? And so what I started working on was a social graph, because Galaxy Maps, we're using Viz.js. It's a networking graph library, JavaScript library, where you have nodes. So you have one node, node A, node B, and then there's an edge that joins the two nodes together. So I got super confident with that library, and that's kind of how we were doing our e-learning thing using that. And then it's I just feel like that visual.
You want to share your screen?
Sure. Yep. I do have a repo. I have a version 2 of this thing, but last commit was 6 months ago. Yeah, I did clone it and I ran it, and it doesn't look like anything. There's a server thing that's kind of not happening. But hold up, let me see what I can share. Give me a sec. I'll just clean up my desktop a little bit.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so I'll just give you an idea of Galaxy Maps. So this is Galaxy Maps. This is just basically a network library for mind mapping. We themed it on the galaxies.
Your screen just stopped sharing. It stopped sharing.
It stopped sharing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it did. It reminds me of Infranatus. Have you seen that tool, Infranatus?
I haven't.
Yeah, check it out.
Okay, I can see your screen now.
Yeah, sorry. Who was saying about Infranatus?
This is Justin.
Oh, cool. I will check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is Viz JS, the networking library, we themed it around galaxy maps. I mean, sorry, like around space. So you have like each node is a star, and then it has these orbiting planets, and that they are your missions that you have to complete.
Huh.
But I kind of use it as a mind mapping tool as well. So
Sorry,
but
what's the name of the tool? Galaxy? Oh, Galaxy Map.
galaxymaps.io. So it's live. You can check it out. I've got like 5 or 6 courses on there. We haven't really done any marketing, but it's kind of just taking a back seat at the moment. I'm just kind of working on some physical stuff. But
Nice.
if I go into some of these repos, give me a sec. So it's called One Body. It was like the one body problem. Like, how do you get a group of people coordinated to work towards one effort? And the only UI I can show you is version 1. So this was just a group of people in the Cook Islands. We're like really passionate around like food production, and so we wanted to connect. So you could click on my profile. Yeah, the UI is a bit janky, and so maybe if I resize it. No. So anyways, we got each person to fill out 3 categories. They were your values, your vision, and your vehicles. And so they made this sort of like onion ring thing that's just kind of not really working very well. And then those 3 things. So for example, for my one, my values were serving people, solar punk, faith. My visions were the outer islands. Mocha is the island that I'm on, leveraging the power of tech and internet. And then my vehicles were sort of my initiatives, projects, and businesses. And so those were just data points that the system collected. We actually gave each of these members a piece of paper, and then they took a photo and sent it in, and then I entered it manually. One Body version 2, there is an actual UI that collects, you enter them in, and then what it generated, you could get this was like an AI summary. So it kind of like, what are the shared values? And then it showed everyone like, oh, we're community and family.
That's great.
Shared vision, empowerment and education, shared vehicles, education, and so on. We had these AI suggested collabs. So this is using a library similar to Viz Network. So like I could have a look at my suggested connections. So me and Nina. So Ian and Nina both share a strong vision for youth, potential collabs, integrate, blah, blah, blah. So this was
Well,
yeah,
this
was
now this is relational design, what you're doing here.
Yeah, this is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So version 2 is even cooler in that, and this is the one I can't show you, sorry. I was trying to spin it up, but there's something going on where it needs some data, but I'll fix it. But why version 2 is a bit more interesting, and I think you guys will like it. Vic, it will be really cool. I'll get it going and then I'll schedule a call. But what it did is it asked you your questions. So in version 2, we stuck with values, vision, vehicles. But this could be anything. Like you could decide, okay, what are we going to ask everybody? And I think that's the really interesting part. Like it might be, what challenges are you facing today? What challenges do you think you'll face in the next 6 months? What challenges have you overcome, or something like that? Because then it's gearing up
it's the
your
powerful set
community.
of profiling questions.
Yeah. And so on version 2, upon answering those, instead of you clicking on one person, what it did is it has your photo in the middle, but then all branching off of your photo are your entry points, right? So if you imagine something like this, like there's your picture, and then branching off is like galaxy maps, right? So I'm making some new maps. I need to focus on customers, VC. Like, so this would be my, and I like the term fingerprint. So it was like, this was my fingerprint. It has all the things. So like in our context, if I go back, so in our context, my fingerprint would currently have things like, building batteries with 18650 cells, building an off-grid solar thing. Like, these are actual projects that I'm working on right now that I could totally use help with. And so if you imagine that as nodes that are branching off of me, and then the other cool feature was you can rearrange those nodes. So you could start to group nodes over to, say, the right. And then there's another natural cluster that I didn't really realize, but they kind of, I'll move them up to the left. And then that's where the fingerprint thing comes in, because you can kind of see everyone's graph, and they're all kind of shaped sort of differently. So that we've already got that in version 2, but the next step, the next sprint was to get AI to then make the correlations. And then some of my nodes are gravitating towards some of Justin's nodes. And some of my other nodes are gravitating towards some of Vic's nodes. So
there's the correlation right there. It's the correlate. That's the purpose of the AI engine, in my opinion, is that right there. And if it does it well, is it semantic based, what you're using? So words, it's looking for broader sets of what the word deer means or whatever.
Yeah, we really we basically just said, hey, LLM, here's the profiles on the people, make the connections. We hadn't gotten deep into the AI side. There is another
level, but you're on the track. It's very exciting for me anyway, Ian, because I haven't seen one that is human centric. It looks like you're really making humanity the center. And we all do this shit. We all have our things. And when they cross over, how cool. You and I can build that barn, And it looks like that's where you're going with it. I don't know. And so it will emerge as we continue to grow in the chaotic mess. There will be the system, the AI system will help organize into these polycentric circles of get her done, right? So I'm jazzed. I can't wait to spend more time.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, I think what was coming through for me while you were presenting too was like reminding myself that our attention is the true currency. So, because there's so much moving so fast and so much coming in, it's easy to get distracted in 1,600 different ways. New tools, build it this way, and another trinket. But if we can get back to the human element while still using the tools, and I love the way that your tool seems to be doing that, then whatever we need at that moment will show up through the connection with the relationship with the others.
That's right. It will show up. If it's the first time asked question, well, now it's in there, but it won't be the first. So somebody's going to show up and the connection will be made. And I'll go one more level in my work. So once you have the human-centric system emerging, another level of this is community-centric, right? So I use the word signatures. So you mentioned you have, we all have a signature. We vibrate at a certain resonance, like a wine glass, and you stick your finger around the rim and it rings. It's a signature, vibratory signature. So communities will have that. And they are based in these signatures of the people coming together that will generate a communal resonance, right? A signature. And imagine a network of these signatures, right? And suddenly I know that there's 2 other signatures out there that are very similar to ours, all different, but we're a little weak on a certain number of domains in our community. Like, we're strong in growing food, but nobody knows how to. We don't have any teachers or educators or whatever. The archetypal words that we use to organize a community. Imagine your same tool does it at that level, right? So it's multi-layered, and we're starting to see these signatures throughout the network. And that's where the communion truly happens. I don't know if I made sense, if I explained that well, but
100%, bro.
Yeah, no,
So
I'm
I'll show
excited.
you that in terms of where it could go, because I'm maybe a little ahead of where you're at, and which is,
Yeah.
I don't care. You're definitely going in the right direction, in my opinion. So maybe when we
I
talk,
think just as a little side quest, it might be quite cool, Vic, and maybe Oscar and anyone else that's interested to think about what are those first questions that this social
yeah,
graph asks.
the
Because that's kind
profiling.
of
Yeah,
the profiling. Because that'll be
I've
our
struggled with
first
that.
touch point. Yeah,
Yeah, because you don't want
yeah,
it to be a fuck book list.
yeah,
Check
yeah,
the
yeah.
dots, and are you this or that? It's got to be open ended, and
Mm,
people have to actually see the value in doing it, because we're all sick of doing profiles, right?
yeah,
But if there's value in it because it helps us connect to others that are going to be synergistic with us, or
mm,
is missing, have something that I don't have that I need, and the engine
mm,
tells me that because we've designed it that way, then the
yeah,
profiles will be very powerful, and they're
yeah,
quintessential to this actually working right, from what
yeah.
I've experienced. Sounds like you too, right? So you've got to
Mm,
start on
mm,
your profiles, and they need to grow, they need to evolve, and it will be a living profile, so people will grow their profile as they have time, or the question answers
mm,
change, or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah,
It might just be like what's interesting is that it'd be different depending on the type of community it's being applied to. And so
yep,
for Regen Tribe, we could just keep it very, very targeted, very specific to, say, the framework problems.
Exactly.
yeah,
And it could just be like two or three questions that just kind of get us off the ground
get off the
into
ground, yeah,
something that, yeah.
prototype. So,
But yeah,
yeah,
if you have a think about what you reckon will provide like kind of value straight away, I think that might be cool, because that might be our first touch point with the next iteration. I'll get it working so that I'll have a URL for us to go to and literally put in our data, our answer to the questions, and
cool.
we'll start to see those fingerprints.
I mean, we
Yeah,
could
and
even
then
do it with our small little group here, and just experiment with
Yeah,
the dozen
sure.
people that are here, and prototype the profiling process.
yeah, cool.
Because it sounds like it would feed right into your tool right away. So there's already some momentum there.
Mm,
Just a thought.
yep.
And it
So
could
that
be
would make
like
this
you have
meeting even.
some.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say you could have like your quick, short 3 to 5 required fields that you need in the profile, but then you could add, you know, uh, just other boxes for like, what do you think about schooling? What do you think about food forest and permaculture? What do you think about, some of these broader topics? So
Mm,
it kind of gives you like insights, like what skills do you have that you think could be useful in the community? Like all these kind of broader,
Right.
open-ended, and I could just see myself like speaking to text, just voice to text, and then pasting in a big blob because I know it's going into an AI. I don't have to be all pretty with it,
mm,
Right.
mm.
Right. And we can actually think at a higher level, because we don't have to spend our time in that chaotic mess trying to organize it. I
Right.
mean, the engine, when it gets really good, it's going to send me a little thing that says, I notice that you've been saying this in your conversations, and
Mm-hmm.
X, Y, and Z. Have you thought about, and it can correlate with me updating my profile, right? Now, the one thing we don't want to do is have it become the director of us, but an enabler, absolutely.
Yeah, and like maybe it's asking us questions of like, I'm pretty clear on this, but I could appreciate some more clarity on this topic from you. And I think
Right.
you might know. Yeah. Mhm.
Yep, exactly.
Cool.
May I ask?
I'll try and get that spun up for us to have a play with by next week.
That'd be
The
incredible.
Yeah, yeah. We could definitely make a space on the call for it. That'd be awesome. Like if that's what's the energy that's surfacing, something to graph and like visualize things. That's very cool.
Yep. If that's
Um,
if you're keen.
May I ask Oscar about this event about free cities? Do you plan to attend it this year to present?
The one they're doing in Prospera this year.
Yes.
Open to it, but it might not be in my timeline. Like we might be traveling at that moment and not in the Americas. So I'm not totally sure. I was at Prospera like 2 years ago for the launch of Italia, like the startup city that's happening there. And I've been to the last 3 Free Cities conferences. Not this last one, but the 3 before that. We presented 2 years ago. Yeah, we presented 2 years ago, and we were helping them with, coordinating themselves as a community of libertarians and that space, looking for land projects and all of that. It was a cool experience. Again, agnostic of what the blueprint is, just that every niche of community creator and community will need very similar big blocks to build their places, understanding their values, defining their priority goals, understanding what kind of physical infrastructure they'll need, etc. And so,
good. I spent 4 months there. I was going to move there. I lived there, and I was, when the towers were going up, I was, I had money to drop on one of the apartments there or condos. I was ready to go.
Cool.
But I could not get them interested in the social architecture part. They wouldn't give me the time of day. They're
not so interested in the human
and they're
system
very
yet.
controlled with, if I asked who's in charge there, where does all this money come from? They wouldn't tell me. So I started to back off a little bit because it wasn't, but they're doing some amazing stuff and they've got very young tech energy there. Great.
Yeah. It's a very, focused on the economics and on the, like, I would say corporate structure of how a community can form in a very corporate hierarchical sense.
They're a Z. So they're a government within a government. Unless Honduras knocks that out, which right now they're trying to kill them.
They're trying to, but I mean, whatever. Anyway, this is their like boiling plate right now. Whether it stays there or goes to another place. Yeah. They're growing in a very corporate sense, in a very structured way. Not so, not prioritizing the human element as much as they could.
Not at all.
Our time that we were there, we spent with a startup city and a group of friends that created like one of the communities that is living on site now. I think they changed the name from Italia to Eterna. They're focused on longevity technologies, which is perfect for that area.
That group. Yeah, they started when I was there.
Like, Ian, you're in the Telegram, so like I would love to share hear updates of like how the graph is going. If any of us can prepare anything before next week's call, would be cool to do a little segment on that. If you're open for sharing that, I'm going to be continuing the kind of like arduous lift of taking transcripts, processing them, getting summaries, and continuing to take different versions of data and asking for framework examples and seeing how that continues. So I'll keep sharing those updates in the group and in the link tree that's there. Does anyone have any closing thoughts? I'm going to have to jump off in a few minutes. I'm going to leave the call open in case you guys want to keep chatting about stuff.
Yeah, Oscar, you're a bit choppy, but I just wanted to second the AI checklist.
The call. We kind of did some technical things. Again, I'm finding the balance between letting conversations go into exploratory and also trying to get a few things off the checklist. Kind of there. Can you hear me? Oh, my internet is choppy.
I think you're a little bit. Can you hear me?
Okay, well, I hope everyone's in Telegram. Go the Telegram. I'm gonna ask a few questions in the Telegram. In the RT. Can't hear you.
Yeah, you're cutting out too much. You have to turn off your screen when you get choppy.
I'm gonna ask follow-up questions.
Okay. I'm gonna run, you guys. This has been great. I look forward to future conversations with all of you.
Yeah,
For
you
now,
guys, super
bye.
good chat.
Likewise, guys. Likewise.
Yeah,
Make
really
sure you
beautiful.
join the Telegram,
See-
and we can get some follow-up in the Telegram and keep it going.
Yep.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
See you guys on Saturday. See you on
Bye-bye.
Good
Saturday.
work.
Yeah,
See ya.
Ian, when can we schedule a call to chat about your kind of idea for your development? It's cool. You saw the regenerative neighborhood, the design that we're like working
Yep.
on.
Yeah, man. Anytime, bro. Anytime. You let me know on. Just message me on Telegram. I'm keen.
Because what's the time for you over there right now? You're like 12 hours different than us, or
We're
what?
midday. It's midday over here.
It's midday.
Yep. 12.
Oh, okay.
PM.
I thought you were close to New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand's 1 hour behind us.
Okay. Got it. Okay, cool. Oh, you're midday
Yep.
the next day already, right? For you, it's Friday already, midday.
No, New Zealand's Friday. Cook Islands is we're just on the other side of the date line. So we're still Thursday, 12 p.m.
Oh, wow, you're on this side.
Yep.
Oh, damn, you guys are on the other side of the timeline.
Yep.
So you're
What
Thursday
time are you at?
noon. Oh, you're a
Yep,
bunch
Thursday
of
noon.
hours earlier or later than us. No, earlier.
Yep.
Right, for me it's 17:05, so it's 5:05 here. So you're 5
Yep,
hours
cool.
ahead
Behind.
behind, right behind.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, mindfuck
Yep.
over here.
My mornings are best for me on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. I teach on Mondays and Fridays. So tomorrow
Wednesday,
won't be
Thursday.
good, but yeah. But
Okay, cool. I'm gonna
what
follow
time's
up with you
the
on this.
Saturday call? Yeah. Just message me.
Saturday call. So Saturday we're trying this thing from 2 to 3 p.m. It'll be like this open space concept that Vic suggested.
Yep.
We're
cool.
gonna try that and leave space for people to have like open discussion. I'm trying to find the balance between like nitty gritty. Here's documents. Who can help do this? Here's LLM data. Let's keep processing, and also leaving space for this like ideas and people to come up with new little side projects and start contributing in their own ways. So Saturday we'll be doing that from 2 to 3, and then from 3 to 4:30 we'll be doing the focused resource link gathering on human systems.
Yep. Did you want to try and meet up before that? Like just before that, like maybe an hour, or you got something else?
Saturday won't be good for me, but maybe what day?
Yep.
Tomorrow? You have like maybe an hour tomorrow?
I'm teaching tomorrow, unfortunately.
Tomorrow. Okay, yeah, maybe let's do it for Sunday. Yeah, this week has been crazy for me. We're at a land project in Colombia, and we're like submitting some like proposals and ideas for what the guy could do with his land. And there's been a bit of back and forth with like, brainstorming. The guy's super excited. So I haven't been as much on the computer this week, but next week I should be much more open. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's touch base on Telegram.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah, we're in there.
Yep. Awesome.
Good to meet you in person.
Man.
Excited to hear more about the project.
Yeah. Cool. All right, mate. Take care.
Bye, Ian.
See ya. See you later, Tom.